where he was and what he was doing.
Okay. Well, first off, thank you everyone for attending. My name is Nick Carter, and I just finished up my secondary science credential earlier this year and was placed at Woodland Park Middle School. So first off, talking about the community partners that were involved in my placement in my community internship, it was through the Woodland Park School District, Colorado College, and a local nonprofit, Catamount Institute, which I'll talk a little bit more about how each one of those partners played into what I did. So first off, this man right here sitting up in the front, Mr. Lee Durr, he was my supervisor, but also really helped facilitate the meetings with Catamount Institute when we first got involved, and was a continuous support throughout this whole process. So when you are in these partnerships, it's really important to know that you have a lot of support. And he is also a CCMAT graduate. Well, Catamount Institute is a local nonprofit here that focuses on environmental education. They do a lot of work locally, but also a lot of work in the Woodland Park community. I first started working with them last year, volunteering once a week, and got to learn a little bit more about their mission and how I could get involved. The primary staff that I worked with at the Catamount Institute are both MAT graduates, and their community internships at Catamount Institute led to them both having jobs there. So it was really fun to work with them because they really knew what I was experiencing in the program and what support I needed. But it was also fun to come in and start something like a middle school program, because we primarily have an elementary school program at Columbine Elementary, Summit Elementary, and also Gateway up in Woodland Park. So this was an extension of that, and also an extension from the not mentioned group in here, Catamount Center, with Jared back here, working with 5th grade programs for Columbine. Okay, so my staff at Woodland Park was amazing. Not everybody's pictured here, but Lainey Weber, who is a CCMAT graduate, she wanted to really get this going a while ago, and then the stars sort of aligned. I was placed at Woodland Park Middle School. I had an opportunity to work with Catamount, and then also I got to utilize my background. And my background in environmental education stems from about 7 years of work with some Colorado nonprofits like the Aspen Center for Environmental Studies, but also in Yosemite National Park with Nature Bridge. So I came in having a lot of this experience, and that really helped me ground what I wanted to do, but also what skills I could gain, but also mentor with my position with Catamount Institute. Okay, so in the fall, unlike a lot of the internships that start primarily in April, we started scheming because we had to really set out our schedule for the school year. Once we figured out what we wanted to do, we decided what the goal of my internship would be. And that was, within my placement, I would start getting to meet with people and plan. And here's what we came up with. We would have every middle schooler, 6 through 8, go for 3 sessions to Aspen Valley Ranch, which is a local area that's under the Pikes Peak Community Foundation, and it's just this beautiful, amazing area. Now, at Aspen Valley Ranch, we had this time because we had testing going on for that whole month of April. Woodland Park Middle School only has 1 computer per 3 students, which means testing takes a long time. But instead of having kids sit in a classroom and watch movies for 3 different days during science class, they had an opportunity to go to Woodland Park, or to Aspen Valley Ranch. Okay. And the way that it looked was I was in charge of coordinating a lot of the logistics to get those kids there. That means tracking down kids and hunting them down to give me the waiver. It was like this big thing, like, if you do not go, you will have to stay behind, and that will not be fun. And the big thing about, I wasn't too bad. You guys, Oh. But it was a lot of fun to get these kids excited, because one of the big reasons why we had this program in place was to get better attendance for testing. because so many students have been opting out. We had students that opted out of testing but still went on our programs because they were really excited to extend what they had in elementary school, and that was a lot of fun. Okay. Now, I also started really putting in place a system, so if one of you came into this, you would have a system in place already. So this is just an example of what I put together on a big Google Doc and a binder that is now at the Catamount Institute office in Colorado Springs. So a lot of the logistics behind the scenes was new to me. And also, a lot of research and development went into the curriculum that we had. And that was based on a lot of prior work, but also making sure that this was something that was relevant to this community and also still met the Colorado State standards, because we were taking the time away from the classroom with the other science teachers, but doing it outside. And that was something that was one of the big reasons why we did this, is that we were continuing to support what was going on in the classroom. And yes, we are so much of the quote-unquote Jedi here in our MAT program, receiving knowledge, but this was also an opportunity for me to help mentor other people that aren't as involved in environmental education. So it was a great piece to empower me as an educator as well. So once we got in the field, the 6th grade lessons primarily focused on biodiversity. We got the students out doing surveys and assessing how biodiverse that area was. So that looked at the different plants, different signs of animals. And we just had a lot of great time to explore and connect back to what they had been talking about in the classroom. 7th graders talked a little bit more about adaptations, and adaptations specifically with plants and animals of how they deal with winter. Unfortunately for our 7th graders, they only had 2 sessions because Woodland Park in late April is when the program was going on, had 2 snow days in a row where we had like 2 feet of snow. Ironically, we talked about winter adaptations next. And then finally, the 8th graders, we really talked about human impact, but also that stewardship piece of what can we do. We went and built trail for sessions with our students, which was amazing to see them working together and also empowering them, because a lot of these students are looking for summer jobs. This is something that they could do with other nonprofits like SCI or even CUSP, which I forget what the whole acronym stands for, but it's Community Coalition of the Upper South Platte. Yes, thank you. Jared's worked with him a lot, or with them a lot. But here are some other things in the field. The students were really thankful for getting out of the classroom, getting out of that testing environment during that time at Catamount, and really enjoyed applying what they had learned outside, which is something that I really value as an environmental educator. And we had a lot of great feedback. One thing that I enjoyed is all the different Google Forms that you can create now. Not even with exit tickets with students in class, but also being able to get feedback from teachers. So here's just some positive feedback that we did receive from the staff. But we also received additional feedback to really improve this program for future. So now what? I got a lot of experience doing a lot of new things, but also building off of what I've done in the past. I feel confident now moving forward that my placement, or not my placement, my job next year at Random Middle School, part of the Westminster Public Schools. Yeah, Mike. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, sorry. I'll be teaching 7th and 8th grade science, and now I feel confident that I can go in and say, here's something that we can do, here's the logistics that we have to think about, here's how we could receive funding, because Woodland Park Middle School, they actually funded all the buses that went out to Asp Valley Ranch, but there are other community partners that I can now become involved with and also seek out, because Colorado Division of Wildlife provides scholarships for programs like this. My friend Brian Rhodes, who teaches out in MoFat, who Marty's actually worked with, we went to a trip with them at Chico Basin Ranch, and that was fully funded. So there are opportunities that exist, but there are opportunities for me to seek out now for future. And even one of our former MATs that's at Eagle View sought out Teton Science School as a program because she used to work there and in turn was nominated as Science Teacher of the Year last year. So these awesome opportunities are there. And yeah, that's Lizzie's roommate too. So I guess for everybody, that's my program in a nutshell, but obviously we can't include everything here. So questions, and yes, this is a 6th grader impersonating me with a, see if you can figure out what he's looking at. But yeah, we can go ahead and get to questions, so thank you. Yes, Terry.
Is the plan that middle school will continue with your model that you put in place?
They're hoping to continue with this plan in place just based on the staff that's there. However, they might be changing the schedule for testing again next year. So it's still something that might be figured out as late as August. But I know that Tracy Jackson at Catamount Institute is meeting with some administrators at Woodland Park School District to figure that out. Yes?
Nick, what would you say was the hardest part of it? Was it doing both things at the same time, student teaching and working on this? Was it working on logistics?
I think the hardest thing was working on it simultaneously to our MAT program, because when the official date of me full-time as Catamount, that started really right when our program started with the trips out to Ask Valley Ranch. And I think the hardest part for me was talking with our staff there and keeping them informed without feeling overwhelmed with everything going on. But that also gave me a lot of growth in terms of proper communication and also just how I can empower the staff to teach something outside of their comfort zone. Marty?
I am just completely overwhelmed with the brilliance of having this alternative activity while kids are in the classroom testing. I mean, we waste so much time testing, and if we had something like this that would be an appealing thing for the other kids to do, it would almost make standardized testing worth having, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but that's a comment. My question is, did you come up with that all by yourself? Because if so, you are brilliant. And
I will say that I did not come up with that idea all by myself. I think it was Tina Cassins and maybe Tracy and maybe even Lee. Lee, can you speak to that a little more?
You know, it came about, it evolved organically as we started looking at Nick's, last year in the springtime, he volunteered with Catamount. Jessica and Tracy have been trying to get into middle school. We said, this is the perfect, if we're gonna make this happen, this is the time to do it. We've got Nick, we've got Jessica, we've got Tracy, we've got me, who can all work into, and Lainey and the whole staff at Woodland Park Middle School looking for an option. Principal jumped on board right away. The superintendent jumped on board right away.
So you need to quit working here and package this and market it throughout the, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, and
It's an incredible idea.
And to talk a little bit more about that as well, there are a lot of states like California that have their own outdoor education centers for each county, and every 6th grader goes. But I guess building off of what you had said, Marty, is thinking about even just using the block schedule so you can go out and do these things, I think is another conversation to have. But I also want to be respectful of other people's time up here. If anyone else has any questions, just see me after, but thank you all for your time.